Ladies and gentlemen, by way of introduction,
I don't think any words can explain a man's life.
The broadcasting system and its affiliated stations present Columbia Network takes pride in presenting. We take you now to Grover's Mill, New Jersey. Ladies and gentlemen, the director of the Mercury Theater and star of these broadcasts.
It was a voice. Just a voice. I never really saw him. He was only
the hero,
Orson Welles,
a great lover,
Orson Welles,
and a dirty dog.
Orson Welles.
Good morning, this is Orson Welles speaking.
How do you do, ladies and gentlemen? This is Orson Welles.
this is Orson Welles, ladies and gentlemen.
This is Orson Welles speaking.
I'm a Unicron.
Well, here it is. If anybody wants to see it.
All right, that's the bell. Everyone come on in, take your seats. Class is in session. Welcome back to Wells University, the show where we talk about everyone's favorite filmmaker, and if he's not, reevaluate your life choices. Orson Welles. I had... No, go ahead, please.
I had to stop and think, is he actually my favorite filmmaker?
Well, time looks like one of us needs to reevaluate her life choices.
As she pours tequila.
As she pours tequila. I mean, that just seems like some really great life choice evaluation you got going on.
This is the last of my wedding tequila. So
that's...
Yeah,
I feel honored that we're using the last of the wedding tequila. I think you cracked open the wedding tequila on, what was it, our last episode or the episode before?
No, I've been slamming at this thing for a few months now.
Have you? Okay.
Yeah.
Then I am misremembering things, as I am wont to do. He says while holding a gin and tonic that is at least 2/3 gin.
Cheers, my friend. We should probably say our names.
Yeah, we probably should. I was getting there, and then we immediately derailed ourselves, because that is who we fundamentally are as people. I'm one of your TAs, Stephen Foxworthy, pronouns he, him.
And I'm the one that stops the momentum of the show entirely. Hope Stow, she, her, almost used my old last name. Nope. Married, bitch. Whoops.
Married, bitch. There it is.
Whoops. I did drop my dead name in a intentional way of... it was a punchline. I just used it as a punchline.
Okay. I mean, you're allowed, but
I almost got a spit take out of Bex. They were doing a long pull in their water bottle. I dropped it. One of these days I'll get a spit take.
Well, at least the two of you continue to keep things interesting. Apparently that's what a successful marriage is about. I've never been in one.
When you're 4.5 months into a marriage, you've really got to strive to keep things interesting.
At 4 months?
4 months or 18 years, depending on however you're counting.
I was going to say that there are a couple different ways you could probably reckon that, I'm sure.
So that's who we are. What is this show?
This is Wells University. Again, you're the show all about everyone's favorite filmmaker, and if he's not, you need to reevaluate your life choices. You did
introduce us. God damn mother. Okay.
That was our first derail of the evening.
You wouldn't dare call me drunk if I was sober. What are we covering tonight with the esteemed Life and Times?
Yes, so
Orson Welles.
We've worked our way across these past 5 episodes to year 16 of Orson's life, and so far we've been covering kind of annual chunks, like big chunks of annual. Tonight we're covering 7 months. 7 months of his life, the 7 months that he spent in Ireland at the age of 16, where he became I struggle to use the word internationally renowned, but at least nationally renowned in Ireland, theater star. We'll talk all about it. But first, Hope, there's an item of business that we need to discuss.
Yes. Yes, I'm excited. I got excited thinking it was my turn to talk, like any good podcaster does all of the time. No, it's your turn to talk about your new books.
Yes, I'm monopolizing the conversation once again in a way that only I can do. I have purchased not 1, not 2, but 3 new pieces of Wells resource that will be put to use in this podcast. Will I write them off on my tax returns? I will not, because I do not make money from this. I am doing this for the love of the game. But the first one that I got is part 3 of Simon Callow's 3-part Wells biography, which is still not finished, by the way. He's still working.
So wait. Hang on.
Mhm.
It's the third part of a 3-part
So far.
series.
So far.
Okay.
This is the third and as of yet most recent.
Okay, that makes more sense. I thought it was supposed to be a trilogy from the get-go.
It was supposed to be 2 books originally, and then he realized he had too much material in the second one. And
I can't relate to that at all, as somebody who's going to spend 10 years of her life talking about this bitch.
Right.
Yeah.
It's called Orson Welles Volume 3, One Man Band. A thing we will cover 20 years from now when we finally get to the end of his life. But there you go. So this is like him making Othello and Mr. Arkadin, Touch of Evil, things like that. So kind of in that frame. Speaking of Othello, I also got one of the biographies from topic of tonight's conversation, Michael MacLeomore, Put Money in Thy Purse, which is a series of his diary entries from the period of time he was making Othello with Orson Welles.
Huh.
So that'll be a resource that we get to in about 5 to 7 years.
A joy.
And of course, finally, last but certainly not least, what's his name? David Thompson's biography of Orson Welles, Rosebud, the story of Orson Welles. So those are the 3 And of course, yes, I am displaying all of these to Hope, like I'm not on an auditory medium and like everyone can see the things that I'm holding in my hand.
Well, they're gorgeous editions, I have to say.
They do look very nice.
None of these people sponsor us, I should point out. Yeah.
We have no sponsors. Is
that product placement? I know it's our sources, but because they're books that are mostly, like Dead Air by William Elliot Hazelgrove. I'm not wearing my glasses, and the book is 2.5 feet away. That's a new printing.
Yes, that's a brand new book that came out in between recordings episodes.
Hazelgrove, get at us. Yeah. Get at us. Yeah. This is also the first episode we're recording post-release of the first episode of this show.
Hope we did it.
We did it.
We did successfully released this motherfucking podcast. Not sure how, not sure why, but we did it.
I christened the Wells University.
And tell all your friends, even if they don't like Orson Welles, they will probably like Orson Welles by the end of our second episode. Mainly because we don't talk about Orson Welles in the first episode at all. If you've gotten to this point, you know that already.
Yes, if you've gotten to this point, you know I already low-key hate Orson Welles.
Correct.
Come on. Let's humble the bastard a little bit. He needs to get caned in the shins.
Look,
literally,
we're gonna get to some racist bullshit.
Well, not literally caned in the shins. He needs to get citizen caned in the shins.
There it is.
Okay.
There it is.
Okay. I had the pun in my head. I had to articulate it properly.
Had to circle back around to it. It's fine.
Figure it out in the end.
Tucker will fix it in editing.
Yeah, Tucker, make me sound smart, Tucker.
We've not really mentioned him a lot in the last few episodes, mainly because we didn't know for sure when we were recording them if he was going to do it or not. But we have outro music from Tucker, who is also the editor and, let's be honest, probably producer of this podcast. So mad props to Tucker. We'll do it at the top of the episode because we've been failing to do it at the bottom.
Yes.
There it is.
Good.
There
okay.
It is.
Good.
There it is.
Okay, good. Nope, sorry, you said top and bottom, and I immediately had like flashbacks to a conversation we had 5 minutes before recording.
Correct.
So it's fine?
Which is to say 15 minutes ago.
We're back in the present.
We are.
And we're talking about your sources.
Yep.
And how excited we are about that.
Yeah. You've not really, other than just kind of mentioning, I don't know if you've really spotlighted Dead Air yet.
Well, I mean, because it's so hyper specific to the War of the Worlds broadcast, there's no particular reason for me to bring it. I'm sure I've talked about it in the past, but fine, I'll spotlight the book again. William Elliot Hazelgrove wrote a beautiful biography, really just capturing specifically the War of the Worlds broadcast from 1938. And it's a fascinating read so far, but at the same time, I'm like trying not to read too far ahead because we haven't gotten to that point, and I'm like, I don't know if I want to get spoiled for the life events that happened to a real man that was alive, and I'm doing a podcast about and died nearly 40 years ago. I don't know if I want to get spoiled for what happens next. Maybe I want to keep it fresh.
Okay.
But I'm super excited about this book because The War of the Worlds is probably my biggest obsession with Orson Welles.
Right.
And it pains me that we're going to be covering it so relatively early in our tenure of this podcast. But at the same time, I'm sure I will find a way to bring it up every goddamned year because Halloween happens every year. And,
Is
it's
Halloween
so much fun?
Is Halloween when you do the pilgrimage every year?
We aim for, if not on the day, then the weekest closest to October 30th, which is the anniversary of the broadcast itself.
Okay.
I have I've been making that pilgrimage up to Grover's Mill every year now since 2018.
Okay.
2018 sounds. 2017 was the first time I ever visited. 2018 was when I started the pilgrimage regularly.
I was going to say that's when it became a pilgrimage.
Well, that was also the 80th anniversary of the broadcast. So
there you go.
It just became an annual thing for me at that point.
Right. And look,
God,
Hope,
it's one of my favorite places in the world. It's this rinky-dink little park in a unincorporated town in New Jersey, but I absolutely adore the place.
We are absolutely going to be doing, because I think we're going to have to, multiple episodes on the War of the Worlds broadcast.
I'm okay with this. I'm more than okay with this.
I think
you
the major
so much to these episodes.
Multiple episodes.
Well, you commit so much to these episodes in terms of the 7 pages of notes we have to barrel through on this episode, which again, thank you for that. Still
a step down from last week or in the week before where we were splitting like 12 pages.
I literally, I knowingly set myself this up to be a academic based podcast, at least in theme and execution, I guess, forgetting that I was a horrible student that hates academia and 7 pages of notes on today's episode. So
the person you asked to join this podcast with you was a former educator. So
it's not what you know, it's who you know. So
there it is.
I'm glad I know you.
I'm glad I know you too. I'm glad that we are friends.
Same. So on this year, I'm getting this from onthisday.com. The year is 1931. Major world events in 1931. February 3rd, New Zealand's worst natural disaster, the Hawke's Bay earthquake, kills 256 and injures thousands, devastating the Napier and the Hawke's Bay region. Off to a great start. May 1st, the Empire State Building opens in New York City as the world's tallest building until the notes are getting fuzzy. The World Trade Center. Ooh. I guess I forgot. Surpasses it in 1970. June 12th, Al Capone is indicted on 5,000 counts of prohibition and perjury.
See our last episode for Welles' thoughts on Al Capone.
5,000. I'm going to skip down a little ways because the next one's kind of interesting. October 18th, gangster Al Capone is convicted on 5 of the 23 counts of tax evasion against him. Later fined $50,000, which I did the math on earlier, is something like over $1 million in today's money. Fined $50,000 and sentenced to 11 years in jail. Let's see. Mao Zedong and Zhu Di, if I'm saying that at all correctly, probably not. Zhu Di are proclaimed leaders of the Chinese Soviet Republic, covering parts of 18 provinces in 4 countries under the Communist Party control. Oh, God. More importantly,
along with other parts of Asia, Wells's constant obsession.
Oh, boy.
We'll get there. We'll get there later this episode.
Oh, great. I'm so excited about that.
I can tell.
More importantly, in 1931, City Lights premieres on January 30th, directed by Charlie Chaplin. Let's see. February 14th, the original Dracula film starring Bela Lugosi is released. Vampire's Day. There's a Freudian slip for you. Valentine's Day. as she holds her Twilight sippy cup. Bing Crosby makes
big
his
heart
solo
on
radio debut on September 2nd on his 15 Minutes with Bing Crosby program, broadcast on the CBS network. How'd you like that? I know we're going to get to it because Orson had one later on, but just like that's your what you got to do this week.
Yep.
You got to be on the radio for 15 minutes.
Correct.
How am I going to fill that time? I'm Bing Crosby. May 3rd, the Star-Spangled Banner officially becomes the U.S. national anthem by congressional resolution. Hot take. The Star-Spangled Banner sucks ass. We should be using the Battle Hymn of the Republic. It's a way better song. It's about the people, not a fucking flag. I don't give a shit about the flag. I like the people. And also the geography. Devil's Tower is pretty cool. Oh, God. Do we want to talk about people born in 1931? Like Boris Yeltsin, Toni Morrison, Mikhail Gorbachev, Jim Jones.
Indiana's own Jim Jones. He and I from the same city.
I got into a conversation about Flavor Aid with a coworker just today. Absolutely wild. Oh, actors born in 1931. James Dean, Rupert Murdoch. He's not an actor. Fuck off. William Shatner. Also debatably not an actor. Barbara Eden, Anne Bancroft, Rita Moreno. Oh yeah, fucking fight me, Shatner. I think Pine is the better Kirk.
Damn.
Fucking come at me. He's a better actor at the very least.
I mean, I will give you that. However, Shatner's breadth of work should not be understated.
No, it should not be. He's definitely our most Shatnerian actor, and he should be studied in laboratories. Sam Cooke was born in 1931.
Oh, I love that guy.
Some athletes were also born in 1931, but that's not important. Let's see. People who died in 1931, people that aren't related to our podcast at all. I love that there's a section on here called Famous Divorces. Gloria Swanson divorces aristocrat Henry de la Fralise after 6 years of marriage.
Gloria Swanson from Sunset Boulevard.
Well, there you go then.
She's ready for the up, Mr. DeMille.
Let's pretend I'm not that well versed and I'm just faking this to seem intelligent. Lionel Barrymore won the Academy Award for Best Actor this year, which brings me on to the Academy Awards, which I opened up in a separate tab and am now just vamping. The 4th Academy Awards were held on November 10th, 1931, awarding films released between August 1st, 1930 and July 31st, 1931, because years don't have any meaning. Time, we can just pick our own arbitrary bullshit. Cimarron, if I'm saying that correctly, was the first Western to win Best Picture and would remain the only to do so until Dances with Wolves in 1990. Yeah, pretty good times. Pretty good times.
Speaking of people who are barely an actor, Kevin Costner.
I should probably just sit down and watch Waterworld at some point.
I mean, it's your funeral.
I mean, it would stop me from throwing on Predator or Prey just again, because I will throw on those movies without really thinking about it. But hey, Stephen, what was Orson Welles up to in 1931?
Well, let me ask you a question first, because I've got This Is Orson Welles by Orson Welles and Peter Bogdanovich, edited by Jonathan Rosenbaum. And you mentioned two names. I'm gonna let you choose. I'm gonna give you the choice. Would you like to hear Welles' thoughts on Charlie Chaplin or Dracula?
I don't think there's a wrong answer here. Let me hear Chaplin first.
Okay. All right. So Chaplin, and he speaks about Chaplin at length, does in fact eventually work with Chaplin, but there are many entries for Chaplin here. Let me pick Chaplin Charlie. Let me go the longest one, page 134 to 137. This thing is fucking massive. This tome that I have here in front of me. Here we go. Talking about the film, what would eventually become the film Monsieur Verdoux. Bogdanovich says, "I thought you didn't like Chaplin," and Welles very diplomatically says, "Chaplin's a great artist. There can't be any argument about that. It's just that he seldom makes the corners of my mouth move up. I find him easy to admire and hard to laugh at. Here we go. Even in City Lights, the movie that comes out in 1931. At the situations. At the drunk, yes. Not at Charlie. But you had a couple of projects you wanted to do with Chaplain, didn't you? Wells says, yes, I had an inspiration in the subway. One of those real eureka kind of things. I saw an advertisement for an anti-dandruff remedy, which had a picture of a bright-faced little hairdresser type making that gesture of the stage Frenchman, which indicates that something or other is simply too exquisite for human speech. Avez-vous scruff? He was asking us. It made you think of Chaplain. Chaplain as Landru. I'd gotten to know him by then through Aldous Huxley and King Vidor. So I went and told him about it. He said, wonderful. I went away, wrote a script, and showed it to him. He said, wonderful. I'm going to act it for you. But then at the last moment, he said, no, I can't. I've never had anybody else direct me. Let me buy it. So I did, and he made it as Monsieur Verdoux. My title was The Lady Killer. This was to be a Mercury production at RKO. Yes, his first non-quote little man role. I had one scene in which the Chaplain character meets up with a lady whose profession is to murder husbands. They go on a walking trip in the Alps, and each one tries to push the other one off the mountain. Come and see the lovely view, says one. Come pick the Edelweiss, says the other. And off-scene in the distance, you can hear people yodeling. But Chaplain couldn't stand that scene because the woman's part would have been equal to his own. So he changed it.
Can't have that.
So he changed it to what was, in fact, the funniest sequence in Verdoux with Martha Ray, where he tries to but can't kill her. He changed it from a professional like himself to just somebody he couldn't kill. But there are still people yodeling in that sequence because it's left over from the other scene. You wrote a complete screenplay? He says no, but I've still got a copy of it. Did he retain a lot of your work? An awful lot was his, Wells says. He, quote, brought it up to date. My period was the First World War with Zeppelin raids, to escape which the lady killer takes his victims to the safety of the suburbs. He moved it ahead, gave us shots of Hitler and goose-stepping Nazis. You know, social significance. The opening was from my version, the neat little bourgeois in the garden of his little villa, briskly, neatly, delicately clipping his hedge, while in the background thick black crematory smoke pours up out of the chimney. At least Chaplain didn't change that. And he goes on. There's more there, but I
believe you.
That.
Wow.
He's even less complimentary to Chaplain in My Lunches with Orson.
I believe it.
Yeah,
I absolutely believe it. It's just that first line there, like he seldom made the corners of my mouth turn up. Could we have gotten Orson, like if time were shifted a little bit, if you took time and scrunched it together a little bit, could Orson Welles have played John Nada in They Live? Because I think he would have given us some buck wild takes on insults like I have come here to kick ass and chew bubblegum.
I think,
like, if you take that character but make him literary, I think you have Orson Welles as John Nada.
It's completely contrary to what Carpenter is trying to do in that movie, but I think you may be onto something.
Look, sometimes you just want to see the giant lizard punch the giant monkey. Like, this is...
Which one is Wells in this scenario?
He's the big lizard.
I could have sworn it's giant monkey, but okay.
Oh, God, no. Who's the giant monkey? Fuck. Is that bug? No. I'd have to think about that. Oh, which reminds me, before we get to Dracula and then our copious pages of notes...
I love we're just killing so much time at the beginning. We've got
this is important. Let's get the bullshit out of the way before we actually get to the meat of the sandwich. So this is like you're just layering on. This is the lettuce slices right here. This is the lettuce slices. So you know that chart that I had last time where it was like a just picture it in my head of directors that are good with actors but get bad results. Get bad with actors, get good results. So bad with actors, good results is Kubrick. Bad with actors, bad results is George Lucas. Good with actors, good results is Steven Spielberg. I've cracked the fourth one. Good with actors, bad results is Ed Wood. So you've got all four of those right on that. You can put whatever directors you want where. like wherever they fit in, but like those are the examples that I've come up with. So good. Now tell me about Orson's thoughts on Dracula.
Dracula.
Yes.
So he's talking about the Mercury Theater production of Dracula.
I was the first Mercury Theater on the air production, I believe.
I think you're right.
If I'm recalling my knowledge about the Mercury Theater on the air.
Bogdanovich asks Orson, which would you say were some of the best Mercury shows? Orson says Dracula was a good one. Bogdanovich says it would make a good movie. To which Wells says Dracula would make a marvelous movie. In fact, nobody has ever made it. They've never paid any attention to the book, which is the most hair-raising, marvelous book in the world. It's told by 4 people and must be done with 4 narrations, as we did it on the radio. There's one scene in London where he throws a heavy bag into the corner of the cellar, and it's full of screaming babies. They can go that far out now. Bram Stoker was the stage manager of Henry Irving, and Dracula was based on him. It was Stoker's vengeance on Henry Irving. He was a very considerable writer, Stoker, an old drunk Irishman, wrote some very good books, and he offered Dracula to Irving to make a play of it, but he didn't do it, and two fellows named Dean and Balderson did. Wrote this corny, terrible play with 2 sets. It's awful, and it became one of the biggest moneymakers of all time. It works terribly well in the theater. I did it once, played Dracula, and enjoyed doing it. And all the movies are based on the play, not the book. Nobody has ever gone back to the book.
Do you think he would have appreciated Francis Ford Coppola? Sorry, that's not the title of the picture. The title of the picture is Columbia TriStar Entertainment's Francis Ford Coppola's Bram Stoker's Dracula.
I didn't think anyone could make that name more drawn out than I do, which is just by adding Francis Ford Coppola's Bram Stoker's Dracula. But you've managed to do it, to which I say bravo.
You have to follow the joke through, my friend. Thank you very kindly.
My metaphorical hat is off to you and your brilliance.
No, my tequila on the rocks is almost gone, and we're not even started with our notes yet. This shall not stand.
We got a good episode ahead of us.
Yes, good.
It's gonna be a good
timeline. The year is August 1931.
August 1931. So when we last saw Orson, he was boarding a ship to Ireland. In 1931, that would have generally taken somewhere between 10 days and 2 weeks. A fortnight, if you will. Depending on the weather conditions. Orson whiled away the long hours reading voraciously and writing long and expansive letters back home, both to Maurice Bernstein and the Hills, which would then, of course, be typed out and circulated amongst various interested parties throughout the Chicagoland area, I'm sure.
Oh, I should silence my phone. Uh-oh.
Yeah, I was going to say mine just vibrated and probably got picked up on mic, so oops.
Whoops.
Though he originally had planned to travel to the town of Cobb in Cork Harbor, Orson was too excited to remain on board the ship and disembarked without paying his fare in Galway instead. So he's supposed to go all the way to the east side of the country, of the island, but is so excited to be near Ireland at all that he just runs off at Galway, which is the first stop in Ireland, basically. So he's supposed to be up in the northeastern part of the country. He's in the southwestern part of the country, if the maps that I looked at earlier are accurate.
Please don't ask me. I'm worse at geography than I am at Orson Welles.
So after a few days in Galway, and this is, I had conspired at one point to try to make a map of Orson's travels, and I gave that up instantly. I was just like, this is a very silly thing to try to do. So
Dude,
hey,
you already do all of the homework.
If someone wants to do that for us, by all means, we'll put it up on our social media and credit you.
Yeah, my request is you make it look like the map from either Casablanca or Raiders of the Lost Ark, and the difference between those two is one has color and the other does not.
My condition is that you make Orson's movements on that map look like Little Billy's dotted line from Family Circus.
Oh gosh. That would probably be more accurate, considering he was walking. And I love that he just carries around his oil paints.
Yeah, and so during this phase of his life, and he talks about this in interviews later. During this phase of his life, he's trying to be a painter. Like painting, according to Orson, painting was his first love, but he was really fucking bad at it. And so he eventually went into the theater as a way of trying to like make money, because it was something he knew he could do.
It's insane to consider that. Yeah, Orson Welles, he didn't want to act, but man, he just had to in an attempt to get money. How many people like have to do other things in order to support acting? Meanwhile, he has to act in order to support painting.
And I don't believe it for a second, given the last 5 episodes of this podcast where he's been essentially like crafting a theater program at the Todd School for essentially himself. Like, and before that, he was even like, putting on little plays and shows for like the kids in Grand Detour and things like everything we've seen about him up to this point kind of veers away from that, which again leads us back to this kind of central conceit that we've talked about since the early days, like we've been out for so long. It's our 6th fucking episode. We've been talking about it since the beginning, this idea that Orson himself is an unreliable narrator. And so
incredibly so. I don't trust a goddamn thing that comes out of that man's face.
I mean, even in like this section of his life, he gets to where he is by lying his head off about what he's done and where he's from. And I don't think he's fooling anybody that he meets, because he's still 16 and hasn't quite figured it out yet. But it gets him where he wants to go. It gets his foot in the door, right?
Not to mention, like, I should probably pull up a picture of him around this time, but like the dude had chronic baby face.
Yes.
So there's no way he looks convincing as, yes, I'm 18. No,
Correct.
You're fucking not.
Right.
No, you're fucking not.
Sir.
This is Kid in the Matrix Reloaded, except for in reverse. I'm totally 16. You're at least 30, friend.
I mean, once upon a time, teenagers were played by 30-year-olds.
It's called Dawson casting. Yes.
Exhibit A, Beverly Hills 90210.
Yeah. I was going to say Cordelia, Charisma Carpenter was 28 when she was playing a 16-year-old in Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Yeah, there's a lot of examples, particularly from the 90s, which is the era of our youth. But yeah.
My favorite is when they do flashbacks in It's Always Sunny to like Frank in his youth, and then you flash back and it's just Danny DeVito in a Beatles wig.
Yep.
It's the fucking greatest thing.
The best thing.
Oh, God. But yes, in 16 short, very full years of living, nothing comparable to Galway after a few days in a city that is not his hometown or the Orient. Whoops, the Orient, in quotes. He's seeing something brand new, and therefore it's the greatest thing he's ever seen at 16.
Right. Like most 16-year-olds, anything that's not the status quo is automatically cool.
I need to see, there's a thing that happens in movies, specifically any movies that take a character through Times Square in New York City for the first time. There's always that shot from a very low angle, looking up at the character who is looking up at the lights and billboards of Times Square, aka capitalist hellscape. And it's got this big, like, oh, kind of feeling to it. And it spins around the character as they're looking. I feel like it's that, but on a very low budget, and all of the buildings are no more than like 2 or 3 stories tall at the time. But that's Orson in Galway.
Immediately falls in love with Ireland. Absolutely.
What a shock.
He heads north to Clifton, which is 2 miles north of Galway, it's more than 2 miles, but he doesn't make it more than 2 miles. To quote McGilligan, 2 miles revealed to me the impossibility, or to quote Orson, as quoted by McGilligan, 2 miles revealed to me the impossibility of combining art, hiking, and pleasure, and the third proved too much on the rucksack. With a despairing scream, it vomited forth my pigments and succumbed to total physical collapse. So basically, he doesn't make it 2 miles outside of Galway before his bag just disintegrates on him.
That's incredible.
Right. And this will not be the first time he has a bag explode on him. Spoilers for the end of this episode.
Oh no. He decides to buy a donkey cart as a means of reenacting the book by Gaelic language author. You put accent marks on it, Stephen. This is cheating.
Padraig O'Connor, basically.
Thank you. Field and Fair travels with a donkey in Ireland. Little on the nose, that title.
Right. I mean, in those days, you just, none of the titles were taken, so you could just literally call it whatever you want.
You're not wrong. Sorry, I'm opening the notes app that I'm taking
We
can make notes for Tucker.
The nearest cart manufacturer, as it happened, was owned by a man named McDonough, who was a relative of the recently departed O'Connor. Again, I don't know how accurate this is, but this may be one of the, because again, there's a lot of coincidences in Wells' storytelling and a lot of run-ins with famous people. I think we talked a couple weeks ago about how he went to Europe and could have sworn he heard Hitler giving a speech in a German beer hall. Really, buddy? Like, really?
I'm at least 70% sure I've made the joke that he was Forrest Gumping his way through life.
You've made that at least once, yes.
At least the once.
We'll make it 5 more times. It's okay.
Great.
I love this for
Great. He lived in their houses, danced with their daughters, and swam with their sons.
They, of course, being more of...
I'm skipping lines. What is wrong?
You're just jumping big old sections.
There's 7 pages of this.
There is, which is why it's going to get confusing if you keep skipping things.
Okay, so then he made Citizen Kane. Wait, no, hang on.
Hold on. McDonough introduces him to more relations of O'Connor's, including his brother, Isaac Conroy, and cousin, Michael O'Connor. And Wells would stay with basically the entire family while in Galway. So as long as he was in Galway, he was hanging out with the family of this author that inspired him to go there and buy a donkey cart.
Wait, oh, hang on. Is Orson Welles making himself a self-insert?
You were mentioning earlier about how like commitment to the bit is something that like both of us have in common.
Yeah.
Orson seems to be committed to his own bit throughout his life. Like his entire life seems commitment to the bit. And the bit is Orson Welles has had the most interesting life in the world.
He would be the spokesman for Dos Equis these days.
Correct.
Yeah.
He would also, we were talking about earlier, kind of like, what would Orson be doing? I'm 100% convinced that if Orson Welles were alive around the turn of the century, he would have been one of the talking heads on those I Love the Blank shows.
Oh my God, you're not fucking wrong.
And he would do that exclusively for the paycheck. I mean, that was essentially the Dean Martin roasts of the early aughts, right? Like, and he did a lot of those fucking Dean Martin roasts.
That's, I think, the most fun thing about Orson Welles, just in terms of like him being a character. You can plug him into any like low rent thing, and it makes perfect sense.
And,
like,
and it becomes 10% funnier as a result.
Yeah.
Because the man did anything he possibly could to make money. And we will talk about as many of those things as time permits. We have an entire episode planned called Orson Welles: Pitchman, where it's just him like selling his good name and his deep sonorous voice in pursuit of capitalism.
Oh God, love you, Orson.
Love you, buddy. Love you.
The greatest.
One of the great.
The
Everyone
greatest.
will always owe him everything.
So he named the donkey, and thank you for including the pronunciation in the parentheses, Shiog, which is spelled Sidahogahey.
Sidheoghe. That's the Gaelic spelling.
That's too many letters. Gaelic for a certain species. I think you meant to say species of fairy.
I'm pretty sure McGilligan says species.
Well, you put in spicy, so it's a type of spicy fairy. What is was prohibition. God, that's not the fucking word, asshole.
I actually typed this one correctly. So.
You did. I'm going to increase the font size.
There you go. Why didn't you think of that?
No, I'm not. I'm the burnout. We all have our roles. But he was prohibited from leaving when the annual Galway races started up, giving the young Wells an excuse to stay and participate in the revelry. Of course, he stayed for the party.
Right. And
Why wouldn't Orson Welles stay for the party?
Right. The man of enormous appetite staying for a thing brought about by enormous appetites. Go figure. For those unaware, the Galway races are, at the time, a 2-day horse race that had been established in 1869. It still runs to this day. It actually is now much longer than 2 days, but it is one of the longest horse races in Ireland. So,
well, inflation.
Touche.
Oh, God in heaven. Eventually, Wells would take his leave of Galway after eating through it, heading to Clifton with Sheog, and thank you for including the pronunciation version later on the notes. I really appreciate that.
I got you.
Yeah. Now, real quick, did you do that real fast as I was bullshitting?
No.
Not looking in the doc? Okay, good. You had forethought for that. Thank you for taking my...
That's also how he is referred to by... That's also how the donkey is referred to by every one who writes it, is by Sheog, not as the full name. Because
get why.
Who the fuck has time to type that out?
But he went to Clifton with Shehagadhugdehe and the cart. Often sleeping on the roadside, he would occasionally stay with locals along the way, paying for lodgings with his oil paintings of the Irish countryside.
Very quick to abandon his endeavors of painting Irish landscapes, saying, quote, "Ireland is really a watercolor country. The almost unearthly quality of the countryside and the mountains in the west and north completely stumped me," which is to say, again, Orson, not great at painting.
Oh boy, Orson.
We'll get into this here in another page or so.
Poor craftsman blames his tools, Orson.
I don't think he blamed his tools so much as he just didn't know how to paint with what he had. I think he was like, yeah, if I had watercolors, I could probably do it better. But even then, I don't think he would have done it. Well.
So he can buy a donkey cart, but he can't buy watercolors.
He spent all his money on the donkey cart. What do you want?
I mean, that's incredibly fair. But then he ditched the donkey cart because he sold Sheog for £10 sterling with an assist from art innkeeper P.K. Joyce.
Not sure if any relation to James.
But I feel might as well throw it in because Orson would claim that anyway.
Probably would. One thing I will say is that I read in McGilligan that the person that bought Sheog would, once Orson kind of gained some notoriety in the Irish stage, claim that was his claim to fame. I bought Orson Welles' donkey. Which I find really fucking funny.
That is, I can confirm, pretty fucking funny.
So taking a bus back to Galway, Wells sought out Ireland's first Gaelic-speaking theater. The name I'm about to butcher, Tibeheric. Well, fuck, let's go with it. Which had been established in 1928 by Michael MacLeamore with his Gaelic language play Dermid Agus Grain. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. I'm confident I'm not.
If there's one thing we're sure of, it's that we're not saying any of these words correctly.
I am Irish by heritage, but I know nothing of the country. I have never been, nor have I bothered to learn Gaelic, which I think after Welsh might be one of the most difficult for my brain to comprehend languages in Europe. And that's saying a lot because there's a lot of fucking languages in Europe.
I was talking with a friend earlier. I'm pretty sure my problem is exclusively that I was a reader growing up. So I know a lot of words. I just don't know how to pronounce goddamned any of them.
No, totally fair.
Yeah, it sucks. Which is why I'm struggling to put off reading this next line because I'm afraid of saying the words at this point. MacLeam, thank you, had left the Triblaga for the Gate Theatre in Dublin, where he and Wells would later meet.
And as one might imagine, there's little use for Wells in a Gaelic language theater, being as he is American and does not speak Gaelic. So he moves on.
Christ alive, Orson. But then he is inspired by the writings of J.M. Synge, and the art of Sean Keating. Orson resolved to visit the Eire Islands, 3 tiny isles 23 miles west of Galway Bay. He stayed for a time on the smallest island, Inisheer, in which he called the most primitive spot in Europe, as it has been for many centuries.
So he sets up there. Once he gets to Inisheer, he sets up a small portrait studio in a little seaside cottage, and sketched and painted the various people that he observed, finding this endeavor far more rewarding than the landscapes. At which point I have noted that I need to read a letter from Orson that he wrote, which means I need to dig up the book that I need to read it from, which is currently sitting underneath 3 other books and a giant bottle of gin. There is a quality in the Eire men, or I'm sorry, let me start over. There is a quality in the Eire eye 1,000 times more elusive than the blue in the Connemara Hills. A something in the clean, naive smile that plays on the Eire mouth, a twinkle that dances in the Eire eye, an intelligent candor, those 2 words underlined, and something more. To paint that is to paint God. I'm
glad you had fun, Orson.
Yeah. So yeah, he likes that significantly more than landscapes. However, despite all of that, Orson even considered these a flop, probably because no one bought them.
That would certainly be a hindrance on the concept of selling portraits.
Right, if that is what one decides to do. Basically, he sets up a caricaturist stand and draws caricatures completely unbidden, and then tries to probably sell them to the people he's drawing or others, most of whom have no interest in what he's selling. So,
gosh, if only he had some sort of natural talent that he could trade for money.
I'm going to let you read this next one because I figure you'll get a fun.
Even after about 3 weeks or so of Inisheer, our resident trust fund weeaboo shit. I'm going to spell check that. It's weeaboo shit, not weeboo. Finds himself without money. What a fucking shock, Orson. In his financial irresponsibility, Orson invokes his brother. The same blood that flows in Richard's veins flows also in mine. That's feels mean-spirited.
That's exactly why I included it. Like neither Orson nor his brother, it is known, are very good with their money. But again, Dick Wells was, but it doesn't feel like he was as involved in his kid's life enough to really instill in them the virtue of money. So, and we'll see this later when Orson goes on his party spree in Dublin. He's the guy who's picking up the checks at the end of the night. There's a great story from the documentary, The Battle for Citizen Kane, where there's an old man who was like a part of Orson's, like, I think he was part of the Mercury Theater, the actual WPA theater in New York, who's like, he gets very serious about how Orson tipped a waiter $50. And he's like, I saw him tip $50 bill. I saw it. I'm not making up stories. Like, he gets very indignant that Orson would leave a $50 tip. But like, if you know anything about the man, and particularly his later efforts to try to fund his films, it shouldn't come as any surprise that he is terrible with money. Like, it really shouldn't.
Yeah, that really doesn't surprise me.
And we start to see those habits forming here at age 16 in Ireland. Again, this shit is cyclical. It all ends up coming back.
Oh yeah. God damn it.
Still, Orson does not let his failures with money deter him from a good time with the local ladies. These great, marvelous girls in their white petticoats, they'd grab me. It was as close, you're going to love this, it was as close to male rape as you could imagine. I think I texted you this with the caption, Jesus, Orson.
You absolutely did.
And
Christ alive.
And all with their husbands out in their skin-covered canoes. All day while I had nothing to do. Nothing but fuck their wives. The girls would then, per Orson, go and confess to the Catholic priest who would make rounds among the Eire Islands. It was this priest who then convinced Orson it would probably be a good move to move Inisheer.
Later, that priest was sainted as the man who drove Orson Welles out of Inisheer.
He had a similar effect on Inisheer that St. Patrick had on the all of Ireland with the snakes. This priest, though, just drove one snake off of one island.
Oh, that fucking rules. God damn it. Leaving Inisheer and returning to Galway, Wells was soon back at it again. Parenthetical, one presumes he managed to find some money somewhere, traveling south and east to Limerick, Kerry, Killarney, Blarney, Tipperary, Wicklow, and then back to Limerick again.
That's a song lyric right there. In those cities in that order, there's something lyrical about that. I don't know what it is. From there, he purchased a bicycle, which he named Ulysses, a nod to both Homer and Ireland's own James Joyce.
Oh, boy.
And then met up with Michael Conroy, the cousin of Padraig O'Connor. From Galway, the two men would then travel by bike or hitch a ride on beer barges heading up the Shannon River, which basically is a river that runs right up the center of Ireland. For those who do not know the geography of Ireland, like I didn't.
Convenient.
And now we come to the section of the 1 month out of the 7-month stretch that will take up the bulk of our time today, because it is the most prolific month of Orson's time here in Ireland, October 1931. Finding himself, what are we on? Right now we're at the bottom of page 2, and we don't leave October until the bottom of page 5. So,
and we are at minute 51 of recording.
Yep.
Bottom of page 2. So near the end of his cash again, Orson finds himself in Athlone, a small town on Shannon about midway between Galway and Dublin.
From there, he hops on a bus and makes the 75-mile trek to Dublin, hoping to receive a cash infusion from his guardian, Dr. Maurice Bernstein, once he arrives. Or Bernstein, it is Bernstein. Mr. Bernstein?
It's Berenstein Bears. However, there was no wire waiting for him in Dublin, so Orson decided to blow the last of his money on a good dinner and a fine cigar. Nothing if not in character. He had taken up smoking cigars while in Ireland, thinking that it would make him look older. It would be a habit that would continue for the rest of his life, despite protestations from his physicians.
In fact, there are several pictures, including the one on the cover of both One Man Band and My Lunches with Orson, where the man's just got a cigar.
I gotta say, you were showing off the cover of One Man Band. That is one of my favorite pictures of Orson, just him in that dramatic beam of light.
Oh, it's so good.
It's very, very good.
I will say, as someone who used to smoke before the first heart attack, I gotta say, I do occasionally miss smoking a good cigar.
Well, that's a bit of a shame. I'm sorry to hear about it. And you know what? I'll smoke to Orson.
I was gonna say, is it time to do that bong rip we've been promising? On mic bong rips. I have a feeling Tucker's going to edit this out.
5250, Tucker. Mark it.
Mark it 8, dude. Next frame.
Good. All right. Smoke for Orson.
Using the last of his cash, Orson purchases a ticket to The Malians, a tragedy of imperialism at the Gate Theatre, which is ostensibly the reason that he had traveled to Dublin at all, to make the acquaintance of Michael MacLeamore. Which brings us to the two key figures that Orson meets, two more patriarchal figures in Orson's life, but this is a bit of a weirder one because these are older men, but they're also, there's this, I don't know, it's a father-son thing, but it's also kind of a potentially maybe friendly and or romantic thing. It's in the parlance of our times, it's complicated. Is what it is. So let's talk a little bit about Michael MacLeamore and Hilton Edwards, the two founders of the Gate Theatres. I'm going to let you read this next section because I think you're going to love that 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th word there.
The so-called stately homos of Ireland. I'll take the bullet. I'll read all of the queer slurs on the show. Yeah, fuck it. I can say it.
I was going to
It's
say
fine.
you're the queer
It's
one.
fine.
I'm the cishet asshole over here.
I am a stately homo of northern Philadelphia. Met in the 1920s as members of the Intimate Shakespearean Company. Okay, led by MacLeomore's brother-in-law / mentor / possible former lover, a new McMaster. That's too many slashes. Brother-in-law. That's
brother-in-law, mentor, possible former lover. We don't know for sure if they were lovers, but given MacLeomore's proclivity for basically affairs with other gentlemen, very possibly. This, and again, despite occasional affairs and dalliances on both sides, both MacLeomore and Edwards would remain a couple throughout their lives.
okay. So they're poly. That's cute.
Right. And Edwards is effectively bisexual as well. So Edwards will occasionally sleep with women where MacLeomore is not.
That's fine.
From
It's
what
a
I see,
spectrum.
it is. It's all
Get what you get.
there. It is.
Like what you like.
I
Who
just,
cares?
for the sake of posterity, want to just put that down.
Understandable.
And Wells would go on to refer to Edwards as, quote, born hetero. He says Edwards was born hetero, which again, no. But
Yeah. There's a couple of things wrong with that.
very obviously no.
That it is funny how that we're trying to avoid bi erasure on the Checks Notes Orson Welles podcast.
Shay.
They founded the Gate Theater in honor of McMaster in 1928, and the two would take turns directing and starring in Gate productions. Edwards was a master lighting stylist with a preference for subtle performance, and MacLeomore, a skilled designer known to write and translate plays from English to Gaelic. Despite being an Englishman himself, he is a poser, and he should get the hell out. Orson was unimpressed, probably because he was a poser, with the play, but managed to work his way backstage where he met Edwards, and in most accounts, MacLeomore, depending on who you believe, Orson
Right.
or anybody else.
That's kind of what a lot of these stories come down to, because both Orson and MacLeomore are raconteurs who are very good at propagating their own myth. MacLeomore, I only own one of them, the aforementioned Put Money in Thy Purse, but MacLeomore published a lot of diary entries, and a lot of the early ones do mention Orson specifically. In fact, Callow's account leans very heavily on MacLeomore's diaries as a point of reference for this time period in Orson's life, in The Road to Xanadu. So there's just, something worth, I think, mentioning is that he tended to lean, I think, a lot more on MacLeomore's accounts than on Orson's, which I think McGilligan tends to prefer. But again, both men are raconteurs, so I don't think I feel like it's I feel like it's a Hegelian thing where there's the one side and the other. There's the thesis and the antithesis, and somewhere in the middle is the synthesis, and that's probably where the truth is.
Yeah.
I was a philosophy major in college.
Couldn't tell. Good job. I'm proud of you. You get a gold star for today's class.
I'm going to put it right here on my forehead.
There you go. Good. Collect them all.
There. Orson would basically embellish his acting resume to Edwards and MacLeomore.
No.
To hear MacLeomore tell it, though, the two men were more taken by Wells's, quote, ageless and superb inner confidence that no one could blow out.
Yeah, no, I get that. Oh, this kid is lying like crazy, but it's so engaging. Edwards offered Orson an audition for the Gates' next production, an adaptation of the 1925
Leon.
Was the dude's name literally? Ah, man, I was really hoping his name was Lion. Leon Feuchtwanger?
Feuchtwanger.
Thank you. On his novel, God damn it, why do I keep taking these lines?
Judsus.
Thank you.
Which they would call
Jew Sus. There you go. All right.
There it is. We're going to say that a lot. So
good.
Yay. Jude Sus was the story of Joseph Sus Oppenheimer, a Jewish businessman who became the top advisor for Duke Karl Alexander of Württemberg in the 1770s. And knowing that the Oppenheimer role had essentially been earmarked for Edwards directly, Wells focused his attention on the role of the Duke, which he called, quote, meaty from first to fifth acts. Basically, something he could just ham his way through and really sink his teeth into.
Nothing if not a ham.
Correct. Speaking of...
Uh-oh. Do you just have a ham off screen? I'm terrified.
Here's the ham. No, I'm pulling out a book to read another quote. I mean, that would be insane if I just had a whole ass ham as a prop for an auditory medium. That would be amazing.
It would be appropriate on an Orson Welles podcast, if nothing else.
If nothing else. One of these days, maybe I'll do it. One of these days, maybe I will.
Goddamn noise, I would have a bag of Fritos off screen. So, yeah.
Well, I mean, if it's not cheating on your diet, if no one sees you.
And 3 pineapples.
Yeah. And 2/5 of scotch. Orson's audition for the committee of gate members, including both McLeamore and Edwards, was chaos incarnate. McLeamore recalls him throwing furniture and destroying a floral display. I will read this accounting from one of McLeamore's diaries. Is this all the light you can give me? He said in a voice like a regretful oboe. Which, holy shit. Like, way to paint a fucking picture, man. We hadn't given him any yet at all. Or we haven't given him any at all yet. So that was settled, and he began. It was an astonishing performance. Wrong from beginning to end, but with all the qualities of fine acting tearing their way through a chaos of inexperience. His diction was practically perfect. His personality, in spite of his fantastic circus antics, was real and varied. His sense of passion, of evil, of drunkenness, of tyranny, of a sort of demoniac authority was arresting. A preposterous energy pulsated through everything he did. One wanted to bellow with laughter, yet the laughter died on one's lips. One wanted to say, now, really, you know? But something stopped the words from coming. And that was because he was real to himself, because it was something more to him than a show, more than the mere inflated exhibitionism one might have suspected from his previous talk, something much more. How do you like them apples, Hope?
We're entering into, I mean, we've been there because it's a show about fucking Orson Welles.
Right.
But like, you get all of these people who are these very, very intelligent, theatrical people, and you interview them, and that person sees a microphone and their eyes bug out of their skull, and they're like, I have to sound the most loquacious, just out of the gate, smartest, intelligent, witty person possible, and we're going to commit that to paper in a biography about Orson Welles. And you're just like, it's just ego after ego.
Considering the subject, though,
I know, that's what I mean. It's like, it's if Orson Welles is our, if only Orson Welles played a planet sometime. Now, okay, I want you to picture Orson Welles the size of a planet. Say he eats
maybe a
other
robot
planets. That's an interesting concept, and we'll put that on the back burner for now. But let's say that he needs to eat other planets. And you know what? Let's make a clean. I know exactly what it is. Ego the Living Planet. From Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy. What if a planet was so far up its own ass that it ate other planets' egos for power? So, yeah. And what if you needed to get rid of the first generation of toys for the planet's... No, let's circle back to that robot idea. I like where that's going. Okay. So it needs to eat these first generation robots so you can introduce a whole new generation of robots to sell toys.
Rodimus Prime.
That's a good name. Write that down. I like that. You're pulling this out of the ether, I assume.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know anything about movies that came out in 2007 directed by Michael Bay. His audition for a committee of gate members, including McNeil. We did that, son of a whore.
We're on to the second bullet point under that. Backstage, Edwards would call Welles, quote, the greatest overactor he'd seen in eons, calling the boy all flash and finish.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
In spite of this, Edwards invited Orson back to audition the next day, leaving him with powerful advice.
Which I will
Another
now...
notation.
Yep. I should have been reading ahead and had my book open to that, but alas, I am a fucking slacker. Which I know is
you're the slacker. You're the slacker.
You go back to your hotel and practice acting like a man and not an actor, he said. You expend a great deal of energy on throwing weight and strength into characterization. Forget it. Despite your youth, you have all the strength you need. Drop affectation, overstudied grace. Try and make over what you've been doing all your life tonight. Learn that art that conceals art. Ooh, there we go. Learn restraint and, above all, sincerity. It may take you years, but come around tomorrow and I'll see how you're coming along. Wells would go on to call Hilton Edwards the greatest acting teacher he ever had.
I get why. Did Orson ever do anything with that advice? And well, I guess we'll stick around and see if Orson ever made it big as an actor.
Right.
But Edwards put Wells through repeated auditions over the following days. But at the end of it all, Wells ended the process being cast as Carl Alexander, the first billed role in the show. So
basically the second lead.
Good
of the
Christ
show.
alive.
At 16, he's playing the Duke of Württemberg, essentially. Yeah. When Bernstein finally did get around to sending Orson money, including a check made out to Trinity College, where Orson had said he would enroll upon leaving for Ireland in August, Wells had all but abandoned school, focusing all his time and attention on the Gates.
Edwards managed to keep Orson on task, fighting against the young man's more boisterous instincts. Really? Orson, boisterous, reminding him constantly the virtue of restraint. Though Orson often balked, he towed the line, submitting to Edwards' direction and ultimately learning lessons that he would later impart to actors himself.
However, the role of Carl Alexander, which was that of a man in his 50s, afforded Orson the opportunity to have fun with makeup, a thing that Orson would do throughout his career, both theatrical and cinematic career. He would have fun with makeup, wigs, costuming, and again, something of a hallmark. I don't think there is a role that Orson played, perhaps outside of that of Harry Lime in The Third Man, where he doesn't use some kind of nose putty to give himself a different looking nose.
I absolutely adore that about the man.
He hated his little tiny button nose. He had this little tiny button nose. It is so fucking cute. And he fucking hated it so badly that he would always put nose putty on his face.
Oh gosh. He's probably one of the few people that wanted to make his nose bigger. So
right.
Yeah.
People in the eras since would kill for a tiny little nose like that. He was trying to do everything. He found it, I think, his weakest feature. So he did everything he could to try to cover it.
Right. And not say his inability to handle money. Right. I guess we're talking about physical attributes. But the role also required Orson to master accent work in order to make himself understood by a Dublin-born audience. And I love this. That'll come back when we get to the radio in 6 years' time in our podcast. As part of his duties with the Gate, Orson was placed in charge of publicity, pumping out puffery to the local papers. That's fun. You had fun with that sentence.
I did.
Charge of publicity, pumping out puffery to the local papers, even going so far as to write a column in the tabloid under the pseudonym Knowles Noel Shane.
McGilligan notes that Knowles Noel Shane is an acronym of Wells, Kenosha, and Non, N-O-N. However, it's also a rather obvious homophone for knows no shame, which is itself relatively telling, I would say.
Wow, Orson, God damn it!
Well, I mean, you can't deny the kid was clever.
No, he was clever little asshole. You know what? We watched the film Big Lebowski a few weeks ago.
What a great movie!
It's a great movie. It was Bex's first time, but there's that line. There's that line, though, Yeah, excellent stoner movie. We smoked every time the dude smokes. It was a good night.
I was going to say, you guys had a blast, I'm sure.
Very good. I definitely didn't buy a bunch of hair clips because of the way the dude uses them as roach holders. Certainly not. But there's that line that the dude says to Walter at some point, "You're not wrong. You're just an asshole."
Correct.
And that applies.
It does. It does.
Orson made himself out to be a young, up-and-coming American talent, including credits and venues he had never actually performed. That's one of my favorite factoids about Orson. He just lied his ass off.
I mean, he did it to get his foot in the door at the gate, and then he did it again to promote his first show at the gate, and the Irish papers fucking ate it up. They would quote back his own materials in their reviews as though they were somewhat factual, when in fact he had just made all that shit up in order to make himself seem more important.
Incredible. See, this is the problem. This is the whole double-bladed sword of the internet.
Yes.
Blade one, we get to make a podcast about Orson Welles and be friends, despite living in different time zones.
Correct.
The other side is Orson Welles would not have existed with the internet. Like, he wouldn't have been able to get his foot in the door anywhere.
No,
with
and
the
that's
internet.
I was watching a video earlier today about Mad Men, and a central conceit in Mad Men is the fact that this main character is just not who he says he is, and as a result, like, that's where a good chunk of the drama comes from, and it's predicated on this notion that you could just lie about who you were, and someone would believe you and give you a job based on that. And that's 100% how Orson gets his foot in the door acting, despite, I fell into acting, he would say. But no one lies this much about their acting resume in order to get to book a gig if they didn't want to do acting, right?
It would be incredible. I think he just liked the attention. Hot take.
Yeah, not that hot. That take is tepid and lukewarm at best.
that take is room temperature and should probably be smelled from a fair distance. Check the date on that take, because it might be time to chuck it. Go get a new date from the grocery store. Also pick up some eggs. Here's $75 for the eggs. He was also tasked with painting flats for the sets of not just Jew Sus, but the local Gaelic theaters as well. His penchant for embellishment and improvisation, though, often got him into trouble with stage managers. You don't say.
He would paint these sets in ways where they wouldn't line up and they wouldn't match. And again, there were kind of these exacting standards that they would set. McLeomore, again, himself was a very meticulous set designer. And Welles himself would go on to be a great designer. We'll see kind of his evolution later on in this episode. But he was known throughout the Mercury Theater in particular. Like, he always credited himself as set designer, and he gets his foot in the door here, not with these, but as he moves on, he gets to be more creative as he gets more notoriety in the theater community, and gets to do more with set design and have a little more fun with it. But, he's one of those guys who's not really comfortable with coloring inside the lines if he's not able to express himself in the way that he chooses to. And unfortunately, because he's designing these sets that have been meticulously designed by someone else, he has to color inside the lines, and it fucks him up when he has to.
Yeah, that doesn't really surprise me.
Right. Nor should
like
it,
at all.
Honestly.
At all.
Yeah.
But on October... we fight for it.
On October 13th, 1931, Jesus premieres. Opening night, a young Welles, eager to please his Irish audience, is momentarily rattled when he was mildly heckled by a patron. I think his line is something, he's leering at the daughter of the main character, the titular Jesus, and says something to the effect of, a wife fit for Solomon, and he had over 1,000 of them. To which someone in the back of the house yells, "It's a black, dirty, a black, dirty Protestant lie." And Welles just does not know how to fucking handle that, and so he gets rattled and is unable to pull his sword from his scabbard to deliver his final line. And so he fucks up the line. It's supposed to be something like ring the bells and charge the horses. And he says like ring the horses and charge the bells or something. No, it's ring the bells and fire the cannons. He says ring the cannons and fire the bells is what he says.
Good.
And then
look out, he's got a bell.
And after fucking up the line, he can't pull his sword out. So he decides to just fall headlong down a short series of stairs and ends it in a backflip, which is a major fuck up, but the crowd fucking eats it up like candy. They fucking love that shit. So thunderous applause. He would go on to like, I mean, you know, multiple curtain calls. He would write home like 6 curtain calls tonight, like just bragging about, and again, were there that many? Hard to say. He is the number one purveyor of his own myth. But Orson would go on to call the performance, quote, my finest work till then, despite being aware of his shortcomings, particularly in that role.
I mean, chucking yourself down some stairs is some pretty solid improv. You're committed, to say the least.
Absolutely.
Oh gosh. JJ Hayes, thank you. The New York Times string correspondent in Dublin called Jew Sus a somewhat unpleasant play, which I think is hysterical, but noted a naturalness and ease about Wells's acting. That makes a lot of sense. Mm-hmm. But this weirdo 16-year-old who's definitely not 18 is actually totally a baby-faced 16-year-old.
But under that sea of makeup, who can tell? That's
very fair.
He's not a 50-year-old.
That's very fair.
And that's an area where Wells tended to excel. I mean, there are pictures of him even at Todd where he's like caked in various kinds of makeup. You can see his makeup, you know, brilliance and stuff like Hearts of Age or even Citizen Kane, Touch of Evil, where he's like probably in charge of applying a lot of his own makeup.
Something that I noted about Touch of Evil, and we'll talk about it when we get to Touch of Evil, is that I adore how he's, in 35 years, he's never afraid to make himself look absolutely horrific.
Right.
And he is just not looking good in that movie, which is the whole point of that character. So well done.
I think there's a part of him that really relishes the ability to do that. Like knowing kind of his reputation as like a heartthrob or like a baby-faced leading man, the fact that he can sometimes make himself look borderline grotesque is, I think, a feature, not a bug for him.
Makes perfect sense. My heart breaks that we never got an Orson Welles Rick Baker crossover.
Oh my God. Well, first of all, Welles could not afford Rick Baker, but let's just be real honest with it right out the gate.
That's very valid. That's upsettingly valid. An American Wells Wolf in London.
There it is.
Even the Dublin critics, not always the most forgiving, were effusive on the subject of Orson's performance. McGilligan notes that later in life, Wells would often half-jokingly call his opening night performance his only pure triumph, and the rest of his career was downhill. No Orson, the downhill is a few years later.
In This Is Orson Welles, Wells says to Bogdanovich, "That's how I began, right at the top. I've been working my way down ever since."
He's upsettingly not wrong. Again, just shifted over about 9 years ish,
give or take. Or 10, somewhere in there.
Right. Yes, it'll be 10 years. Yeah, because Kane was 41.
Correct. This is 31.
Yeah. Right. Okay. For some bizarre reason, I thought Kane was 40, and therefore Casablanca was 41. Nope, Casablanca is set in 41. It's released in 42. This is the only way I can differentiate.
Wins the Oscar in 43.
Hell yeah. But given his success at the gate, Orson became the life of the party, quite literally, taking up carousing and merriment. My cat just got me, son of a bitch. Blaming the mispronunciation on the cat, staying out late and often reaching for the check at the end of the night.
Again, that irresponsibility with money rearing its head. Like he becomes
wants to be popular, wants to be liked.
Yep. Again, all about the attention. And that becomes, again, kind of he's barely got any money to begin with, but he's always kind of the first one to try to pick up the check again, $50 bill. I'm not making up stories. I love that guy. I don't know who that guy is. He is my favorite. That is my favorite part of that documentary. And I love that documentary. We'll talk about that documentary one of these days. When we get to Citizen Kane, we'll talk about that documentary. So as a result of these parties, Wells would often find himself, Wells would eventually find himself arrested for, quote, rowdyism, but also find himself meeting famed artists like William Butler Yeats and Lady Gregory, who was the founder of the Abbey Theatre, the National Theatre of Ireland.
Oh, Christ.
Like, again, it's just, he's carousing. He said that he was not a fan of Yeats. Like, Yeats was kind of one of these guys that you would always just kind of see around and like show up at every party. So apparently he was not a big fan of Yeats as a person, to say nothing of his art. But yeah.
Oh, gosh. He would develop a crush on his Jussus I keep putting a soft J on it. Co-star Betty Chancellor, who played Seuss's motherfucker. Played the daughter, whatever, words, pronunciation. Seeing him for the inexperienced boy he was, though, she often rebuffed his advances, charming though she knew him to be. And
she was taken with him. Again, he's a as we said, a charming figure, but
yeah,
she's probably a few years older than him and just like knows that he's kind of a lot of bluster. And he apparently, she said that in every scene he was in character until it came to the scene where he had to assault her. And in which case he was just kind of this like fumbling boy. And that was when she knew, she's like, okay, this kid is unexperienced. He's a kid, basically.
Yeah. Ah, boy, Orson.
Which brings us to November of 1931. After sitting out a Gaelic language production of Molière's Scapin, Wells would mount a thriller written by Dublin journalist David Sears called The Dead Rides Fast, in which an elderly American millionaire, played by Wells, who got to use his own accent for once, and his daughter weather a storm in a gloomy mansion while traveling in Ireland, only to find the place haunted by, quote, a stranger from another world, played by Hilton Edwards.
Okay, that sounds like a pretty good time. I want to see Wells in a haunted house movie. That sounds great.
It does sound great. There's not a lot of Wells horror outside of like theater and radio.
I'm just saying, we've got the formula already. Orson Welles in They Live, directed by John Carpenter. We can do this.
John Carpenter. Despite receiving good reviews, Wells was openly critical of the script.
But it has to also still be Keith David. Sorry. Back to the notes.
Especially what he referred to as bogus American dialogue, speaking ill of it while it was still running to a journalist, I think a Dublin transplant for the Chicago Tribune. This angered a lot of people at the gate, including McLeamore, who saw it as a sign of Wells's obvious immaturity.
Later that month, Wells would star opposite both Edwards and McLeamore in The Archduke. Am I reading that correctly? It is dupe. Archduke. Sorry.
Yeah. It's a play on the word Archduke.
Okay. By Percy Robinson about Napoleon's puppet governor in Mexico, Archduke Maximilian of Austria. Wells delivered an outsized performance, which was not without controversy, given the subtlety the Gate was usually known for. Whoops.
But again, the implication, at least by McGilligan, is that Edwards, who is directing the piece, is giving Wells a little bit of a longer leash than he might otherwise, which again kind of fuels the rumors that there is something else going on potentially between Wells and Edwards, though Wells would always deny it.
Yeah, great, good. Am I taking this next line? Fuck it. Orson likes to adopt a flirtatious presence with homosexual men, but in this case, it may have backfired, spiking McLeamore's jealousy and resentment.
Right, so the part you skipped there is that during this time, Wells began to moonlight at other theaters throughout Dublin.
God damn it, I skipped another paragraph.
Other than the Gate. And Wells would later in life basically blame this on McLeamore's jealousy, both personal and professional. And again, Wells was developing, as we just mentioned, a very close relationship with Edwards, who was at the time, and till their deaths, McLeomore's partner. So again, this idea that Wells is kind of developing this kind of flirtatious relationship. I mean, McLeomore himself would go on to call Wells the third great love of his life. So, like, I mean, again, we're kind of looking at this from the outside going, the fuck are these guys doing? But
yeah. First off, he's 16. But yes, Orson liked to be flirty with the other gays. McLeomore is a jealous bitch. Whoops.
Right.
Whether a result of jealous lover or not, or no, sorry, I'm trying to stay true to your notes. Orson was relegated to smaller and smaller roles at the gate after Jussus, prompting him to seek work elsewhere, including the legendary Abbey Theatre, aka the National Theatre of Ireland, where he played a sexagenarian in Somerset Maugham's The Circle.
So yeah, basically Wells becomes known for playing older roles as a result of his, triumphant performance in Jussus, and as a result basically gets asked to perform this kind of week-long benefit performance of The Circle to benefit Irish youth hostels. None of the other actors in the show were regulars at the Abbey because, I find this incredibly hilarious. All of the regular repertory players at the Abbey were on tour in Canada and America the entire time Wells was in Dublin.
That's incredible.
Right. So in fact, at this time, they were probably just about getting ready to open in Wells's hometown of Chicago.
That's hysterical.
Right. So he probably could have actually seen them all perform had he just stayed in America like his guardians wanted. Instead, he went to Dublin and would peace out on the gate, a thing he felt kind of guilty about, leaving the gate and Edwards in particular in a lurch. Edwards seemed more than forgiving, basically giving Orson an excused leave, looking the other way as he went to perform this piece at the Abbey. Again, kind of probably continuing to fuel McLeomore's jealousy, such as it was.
Edwards would even go so far as to task Wells with launching a side project called the Peacock Repertory Players, who would perform at the 102-seat Peacock Theatre adjoining the Abbey.
And so his first project here would be The Moon Rides High. Again, something else, like The Dead Rides. What was it? The Dead Rides was the one he did earlier. The Dead Rides Fast.
The Dead Rides Fast, Spirit of Vengeance.
There it is. And that was a play by Herman Ould, an old friend of George Bernard Shaw, one of Wells's heroes. That opened mid-November and played for a week. The co-founder of the Peacock Rep was William Sherwood, another of the performers at the gate. He would direct every play that was performed by Peacock Rep except one, which was directed by Wells himself. Scholars can't seem to agree on which one he actually directed, but they've narrowed it down to two, either Mr. Wu or The Chinese Bungalow. We don't know much about those shows, but one thing we do know is that Wells both directed and starred, and he starred as an Asian man with a ponytail. One of the most, again, just playing on those very real stereotypes that Orson seemed to just kind of trade in around this time.
Damn it. In any case, in December of 1931, the PRP mounts a production where Jerome K. Jerome, great name, his farce, The Celebrity, followed by an adaptation of Lewis Carroll's Alice in Wonderland. Both productions were praised for Orson's stage designs. Orson, of course, played Alice as a ponytailed Asian man. Other plays performed in early 1932 included a pairing of August Strindberg's The Stronger with Jules Romaine's medical spoof Dr. Knock.
Strindberg,
exciting. I know
Strindberg.
What did I say? Strindberg. Sorry.
No worries.
I put the wrong emphasis on the incorrect syllable.
As one does. Wells would ultimately return to the gate for their Christmas play, Mogu of the Desert, by Patrick Collum. The play was, quote, an extravagant Oriental saga set in mythical Persia, wherein Orson played Chosroes, or Chosroes, I'm not sure how to pronounce it. The Last
We'll
King
flip
of
a coin.
Persia, which he played with his typical grace and sensitivity, decked out in nose putty, a massive white turban, and, quote, 3-inch fingernails of peacock blue and silver.
Yeah, I got into, like, the last time we were gearing up to record an episode, like the day or two before, I had dinner with my parents, and I made mention that, like, yeah, we're going to have to talk about all of this horrifyingly non-PC shit that Orson did. And like my dad kept saying, well, you know, it was appropriate at the time. And it took me all I had in me to not just lunge across the table. Yeah, it was appropriate for white men at the time. It wasn't appropriate for literally any other human being on the planet.
Right.
Yeah. It was fine if you were a white dude.
Exactly. It's kind of one of those, well, you know, it was a different time and a different place. Doesn't excuse it.
Yeah.
As the lead-ins to the Looney Tune cartoons like to say, it was wrong then and it's wrong now. Hope we're on the last page. We're on the final page of notes.
Holy
we're almost
shit.
done. Orson's almost
God.
out of Ireland.
Oh my God. Let's get this bitch out of Ireland.
We got 3 months left.
Into January and February. 2 for 1. Wow, January only has one line. Orson plays Duke Lamberto in Death Takes a Holiday. Loved death in his plays.
Mm-hmm.
An English translation of the Italian romance, La
Morte in Vacanza.
La Morte in Vacanza. Thank you.
In that one, Duke Lamberto is essentially a duke. He's a duke who death played by Michael McLeamore, falls in love with his daughter, played by Betty Chancellor, which I find very funny. And he's very upset about the fact that that Death has a crush on his daughter. This would, of course, later be remade by Martin Brest in a little film called Meet Joe Black.
Well, the plot Death Takes a Holiday is also similar to the plot of Mort by Terry Pratchett.
There you go.
So, you know, there are no good ideas, new ideas anymore.
Good artists borrow, great artists steal.
Well, Terry Pratchett filed the serial numbers off and had it under his coat before anybody saw what was happening.
There it is.
In February of 1932, leaving January in the dust, the Gate stages Wells' first foray into professional Shakespeare, Hamlet, with McLeamore as the titular Danish prince, and Edwards both directing and playing the role of Claudius. Wells would double as both Fortinbras and the ghost of Hamlet's father.
Years later, McLeamore would call Wells, quote, one of the best ghosts I've ever seen.
I mean, that just fits for most of Orson Welles' life, yes?
Yeah. And in his documentary film, Filming Othello, Wells would say of McLeamore's Hamlet, by general consensus, one of the finest in living memory, surely the best I've ever seen.
Definitely no hero worship or found father syndrome happening here.
Nope.
Definitely not. While rumors began to circulate of Wells playing a Shakespearean lead like Othello or Coriolanus. Thank you. I'm a reader, not a talker.
You're good.
Despite audio medium, nothing ever came of them. Betty Chancellor mused that Wells was so remarkably good that the management was jealous.
Meanwhile, Orson began to grow dissatisfied, as one does, with his typecasting as villains and elderly characters, though he was usually pacified by flattery from Hilton Edwards, who called Wells, quote, the best heavy and character actor in the company. Which, as a fellow heavy and character actor, there are few compliments better.
I mean, hell yeah, it's a great archetype.
I'm in rehearsal for a play that will have been closed by a month by the time this episode comes out. And it's the first time I've ever actually been cast as a lead, and it's weird not to be able to just go full ham, but like you can when you're a character actor.
That's the benefit of being a character actor. I'll tell you this. I'm in the process of working on another podcast because I don't have enough podcasts.
What are you up to now? 4?
This is the 4th one. Yeah, by pure accident. It kind of came out of nothing at about a week and a half ago. So I'm the narrator for this new audiobook fan fiction nonsense podcast. And it's been a while since I've done properly scripted content that I didn't write myself or aren't notes, bullet points about Orson Welles.
Right, touche.
Right. So I got what I call the anti-George Lucas direction, which you'll know George Lucas on the set of Star Wars was infamous for telling actors to be faster and more intense. But I was told to slower and more romantic, which I thought was hysterical.
That is great.
Because I am supposed to be narrating these two fucking lesbians falling in love with one another again and again and again. I can't George Lucas my way through this shit.
No,
certainly not.
I will say, that is great. First of all, I love that. But if only George Lucas had given the slower and more romantic, well, maybe not slower, but definitely the more romantic note to Hayden Christensen and Natalie Portman on the set of Attack of the Clones, then I don't know, maybe that movie could have been something.
You know what? I'm not going to blame I'm not going to blame the actors anymore. I'm done blaming Hayden Christensen for that. It's entirely, I think, the fact that it was George Lucas, who is famously terrible with actors. It was shot mostly on blue screens, which is insane. And it's the first all fully shot digital movie, which is also a highly experimental form at that point. And I think poor Hayden got caught in the crossfire on that one.
100. I mean, in the same way that Jake Lloyd did on the previous film. I mean, these people are literally just doing what their director tells them to do. Like, here's how I know George Lucas is not a great actor. Sam Jackson is bad in those movies.
You really don't get much out of Jackson. It's, you know what I've been
saying. How do you make Sam Jackson bad in a movie?
Here's what would have made Attack of the Clones as a sidebar, because we are just about on the final page.
Hey, we are on the final page.
Oh, we are on the final page. Yeah, we can take a 3-minute side tangent about, we just had some technical difficulties. Fuck it. It could have elevated Attack of the Clones from a shitty movie to one of the greatest, like, midnight movies of all time. Just one tiny little edit where it's Mace Windu, played by Samuel L. Jackson, holding a purple lightsaber to the throat of Count Dooku, Christopher Lee. There's so much talent. There's so much talent. We squandered it. We ruined it. We had a scene with Christopher Lee and Samuel L. Jackson together. And Samuel L. Jackson never said the line. Well, he says the line, "This party's over." It should have been, "This party's over, motherfucker."
It 100% should have been.
Instantly would have gotten the movie so much more respect.
Correct.
At local repertory theaters.
For all of us, really. From all of us.
We were so close.
Speaking of so close, Orson's last performance with the Gate would be Hamlet. And the young actor, after a wild and carousing party in Dublin, sets his sights on a much larger venue, London, which is where he is as of March 1932. He arrives in London, but has difficulty finding work, even with his successes in Dublin. Considering the fact that a lot of British actors were out of work at the time, there didn't really seem to be anything for any American, regardless of age whatsoever. And so Welles, out of work, decides that he's going to take a train out to Ayotte, St. Lawrence, to visit the home of one of his heroes, the great George Bernard Shaw, writer of Pygmalion, which was itself the what's the word I'm looking for? Basis for My Fair Lady.
Good.
The Lerner and Loeb musical. Welles apparently had a very easy and memorable conversation ranging on such topics as theater to Dublin gossip, because Shaw himself was a native Dubliner.
Good.
Yep. What did it happen? Who's to say?
Yeah. Always meet your heroes.
Yep. Welles always go great, just like it did for Orson Welles.
Welles then went on to Paris, which would later inspire the song by Jimmy Buffett, where he slipped easily back into the partying lifestyle he'd adopted in Dublin.
After too many months away, though, Welles began to feel somewhat homesick, though for where exactly he could not say. Not for Kenosha or Chicago or Highland Park or even Grand Detour, but possibly for Little Woodstock, Illinois, home of the Todd School for Boys. Welles even went so far as to write letters home to Roger Hill, hinting that he finally felt as though he could be ready to teach theater should Hill rather be open to offering such a position to him at Todd.
Yeah, it makes sense. Like, make sure you get a job before you go to the place. It's a sound strategy. And
I will tell you, this is a strategy that I myself once employed after spending 4 years in college studying religion. I actually reached out to my old high school principal at the Christian school that I attended and was like, hey, do you need a Bible teacher? And he told me no. And then 2 years later called me up and said, hey, were you serious about that Bible teacher thing? And I did that for 8 years.
Well, dang. All right. That works out.
It worked. We got two more sections here.
Points. I'll take the penultimate one. March 15th, the Ides, as they say. Orson arrives in New York City by ocean liner, stabs an emperor to death. His 7 month.
No, he does that later. He does
that later. We'll get to that later. Right. He hasn't yet Charles Foster Kane is the fictional one. Fuck, what's the real dude?
William Randolph Hearst.
That's the one. When in New York, take a shit on the doorstep of the Hearst building. His 7-month stint in Ireland having come to a close, he spent some time peddling his resume to agents and producers in Broadway, but the name Orson Welles carried far more weight in Dublin than it did in New York.
So finally, on March 18th, 3 days after arriving in New York, he arrives back home in Chicago by train to much fanfare, thanks in large part to his guardian, Dr. Bernstein, who basically let all the papers know that he was returning, the favored son, having made a name for himself in Ireland. His return was heralded by the Chicago Tribune, and despite Wells's luggage exploding on the platform at the station,
buddy,
there's that thread I put down at the beginning.
Buddy.
He returned a conquering hero who had made a name for himself in the world of theater, and still more of that to come. Our sources for today's episode: Simon Callow's Orson Welles Volume 1, The Road to Xanadu; Patrick McGilligan's Young Orson Welles, The Years of Luck and Genius on the Path to Citizen Kane; and Welles and Bogdanovich's This is Orson Welles, as well as the documentary Filming Othello.
Good times.
There it is.
Good times. And we made it through Ireland. We made it through 7 months in under 2 hours. Not bad for us.
Not for us, not at all. There is one more piece of business that we need to discuss, which is to say there is a piece of Welles news that has happened in the interim between last recording and this recording, which is to say it actually, would have on May 3rd, Gold Derby, which is I believe a betting site known for like various betting predictions, has ranked a list of 13 Wells's 13 films ranked from worst to best. Hope, would you like to take a stab at where some of Wells's films land on this list?
Oh gosh. Okay, so let's start with Kane. I feel like putting Kane at 1 would be too easy. Now, let me ask you this. Are they writing this list from a viewpoint of being Welles fanboys? Or are they writing it from being just film in general, like film historian standpoint?
I would say it's probably somewhere in the middle, but closer to fanboy.
Fanboy, okay. So it's not going to be Kane first. It's going to be one of the weirder ones. I'm going to say Magnificent Ambersons is number 1, because that's got the whole, it's number 2, sons of bitches. I was close.
Magnificent Ambersons comes in at number 2, which I feel is high for Ambersons. Ambersons is great, but, Ambersons comes in at number 3. My apologies. Ambersons is great, but flawed. I would probably put it in my own rankings at 4 or 5.
The little that I know of Magnificent Ambersons is that it was taken away from him, recut. His original version was destroyed.
Correct. Yes.
I am in a fandom where I'm like, no, man, but you've got to read the script that was written for episode 9 before Carrie Fisher died, man. That's the real story. Like,
you are that type of fangirl, 100%.
Yeah, so I'm trying to get into the head game of a fanboy here for Orson.
Sure.
As a slightly uneducated fangirl myself of Orson, which is why I'm doing this podcast, so I can learn about Orson Welles.
Yeah, you're learning right along everyone else.
You might as well just read them off.
All right. You want to start at the bottom and work our way up?
Yes, absolutely. Unless it's F for fake at the bottom. Don't break my heart like that.
Number 13 is actually his last film, his only posthumous release, The Other Side of the Wind, which came out in 2018.
Really? That
Yes.
was bad? The movie that you could never get funding to complete? That was bad?
We already have a guest lined up for that episode, and it is his favorite Wells film.
Gosh, I hope
we cover that
in 38 years.
In 20 years when we get to that. In 12th place, Macbeth, the Poverty Row film that he made of Macbeth, coming in at number 12. At 11th place, The Stranger, which is kind of his Cold War thriller, his proof that I can make a film on time and under budget. The Stranger with him and Edward G. Robinson, fucking great movie. In 10th place, the only Wells film I've never seen, The Immortal Story, with him and Jean Moreau. In 9th place, Mr. Arkadin, another one that I very much enjoy, but I would definitely include that in the lesser Wells echelon myself. In 8th place, and this is where we start to get into just like wall-to-wall bangers from end to beginning, Lady from Shanghai, a movie that I think is amazing. I fucking love Lady from Shanghai.
Okay.
Wells and his... I think at the time they were separated, but his wife, Rita Hayworth, and Citizen Kane star Everett Sloan as the villain, who is phenomenal. In 7th place, The Trial, based on the film by Franz Kafka, starring Tony Perkins as Kay. Jean Moreau's in that one as well. Wells himself plays the prosecutor. In 6th place, his Palme d'Or winning film Othello from 1951. In 5th place, here you go, Hope. At the bottom of the top 5, it's F for Fake.
Okay, all right. Make it into the 5.
Made it into the top 5. And I would absolutely put F for Fake in Orson's top 5, personally.
God,
it's good. It's fucking great.
It's a hypnotically weird movie that I adore.
Yeah, it's amazing. It is absolutely incredible. In 4th place, and I think this one is just tragically low, Chimes at Midnight.
Okay.
I put that at number 2 or 3. Easy.
Okay.
Easy.
We're going to have to do a ranking at the end of all of this.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
At least of the films, if not of fucking everything.
We'll do 2 separate lists, films and everything.
Number 3 is the aforementioned Magnificent Ambersons.
Okay. All right.
Which is, it's again, great film.
Now hang on. Let me guess. Is Kane 1 or 2?
It's one of them.
Oh, motherfucker! Of course, it's gotta be one of them.
Make a call.
I'm saying it's 2. I'm going like dark horse favorite here.
In 2nd place, Touch of Evil.
God damn it! Put Kane number 1.
Charlton Heston, Janet
Everybody
Leigh,
does that.
Marlena Dietrich, Akim Tamarov, Zsa Zsa Gabor, Joseph Kayella, sorry, and then at number 1. What is widely regarded as one of the greatest films of all time, Citizen Kane.
I get it.
It's my favorite Wells film too. I put Kane at number 1. It's my favorite movie of all time. I fucking love the film. And I don't say that to sound like a pretentious art school boy, but just because I do legitimately love the movie. Every time I watch it, I get something new out of it. It is an absolute masterclass. The way he changed the form in ways that we're still commenting on. Absolutely unbelievable.
I'm really excited to talk about his picnic on Skull Island. But that's really just something I like to keep an eye out for in that movie.
Sure.
Yeah, okay, Kane is number 1. I guess I have to respect that because it is true. I guess.
But though that's Gold Derby's list, again, I completely disagree with some of those rankings. I think the top 5 is pretty solid. There are maybe 1 or 2 that I would shuffle around and maybe one that I would move out of there entirely. But it's a solid list. It's kind of hard to argue with some of those. But what do you think? Let us know how you would rank Orson's 13 films, shoot us an email at wellsupod@gmail.com. Let us know how you would rank those, and we might read your letter here on the podcast if I so choose to do so.
There's a bat hanging above the door. So, wow, Stephen is giving me a look. That's not a fan, my
you
friend.
are welcome, my dear.
Yikes-a-rooney. Yeah, there's a bat above the door that says, "We have the right to refuse service." And it's just pointed at the mailbag at all times.
There it is.
Gosh. Is that everything we have to do today?
That's our episode. We checked off all the boxes.
We got some social medias, I guess. We got a Tumblr, Wells U, or Wells University, I think is the full Tumblr. Let's see if I've done anything with that besides promote our first episode.
I was going to say, I should probably put that on the show notes going forward.
Probably.
Which means I'm going to need you to send me a link to that so I can get that on the show notes.
I shall do so once we hang up. But I believe we have other socials as well.
We do. We're also on Bluesky and YouTube at WellsUPod. And you can follow me on social media if you want. I'm at Chewy Walrus on Bluesky and Letterboxd, and that's it.
And I hate social media, so you can find me at hiimhope.com. That's HIGH, imhope.com. Side note, that's the title I've been using on Discord for the lesbian server. I'm just calling it the lesbian server. They won't take offense. It's accurate.
They're lesbians. They're fine with it.
Despite the title effectively being me introducing myself as, hi, I'm Hope. It's a dumb pun. Everybody keeps calling me Hi, which is still accurate.
I was going to say, not incorrect.
Yeah,
I did a bong rip in the middle of this episode.
That's to be fair. Tucker, I hope you edited that out. I have the show notes that I will screenshot to you. Which, side note, thank you to Tucker for making us sound okay. I am now no longer living in a wooden cavern in Philadelphia.
Something we are all grateful for.
Yes, I apologize for that greatly. My new place has carpeting and heating. It's pretty nice.
That, you know what? Coming from a place very much like yours with no carpeting and no heating, it fucking rips. Something about it.
The first month I lived there, I had no hot water, so I was taking cold showers for a month.
That sucks.
I'm gearing up to leave a scathing review.
Tell us about some of your other podcast projects that you're working on.
I have several, two of which are on hiatus as of sorts right now. One of which is High on Cartoons, which I do with my partner Bex. Spouse, I guess I can say.
I was going to say spouse now, yeah.
Yeah, we should be coming back with season 3 of DuckTakes anytime now. I think we got to do. Can't
wait to guest on that Darkwing Duck episode.
Oh God, that's a 2-parter. We're gonna do 6 hours on that one.
Yes, we will.
But then I've also got with my good friend and bridesmaid Ella Cesare. I've got The Matrix Reclamations, where 2 trans girls talk about The Matrix from a trans perspective. That's also been on hiatus because Ella is the busiest human being alive. But
and you just couldn't taking time off, so you called me up and said, "Bitch, let's talk Orson." And I said, "Hell yeah!"
I need a creative output where I can info dump about my favorite things. God 100%. Damn it! And I'm gonna say this title. As far as I know, it's still a working title, but it's called "The Lanes Between," and the goal is to have a bi-weekly reading of various fanfics in the arcane Kate Vi shipping fandom. So that's a niche podcast. So
I was going to say, that's a bunch of words you said that I do not understand.
Cherish your ignorance, my friend.
I shall.
I have read Stephen King length novels about these assholes falling in love over and over again that people have written for free. Did I mention I love fan fiction? It's entirely a passion project and I adore it. It's the best.
And then are you doing some work with the Philly Roller Derby that you want to mention?
I am not presently at this time. No.
What about in July when this episode drops?
Probably also still no. Because
okay.
I'm still suffering from burnout from living in today's society.
I mean, fair. Very fair.
Yeah.
Aggressively fair.
Yeah. existing as a queer person, a trans woman in modern America is it's energy consuming, I'll say.
I can only fucking imagine.
Yeah, why do you think I hurl myself into the lesbian group chat so hard?
Touche.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not a part of that group chat, so I can't.
No, you're not.
Comment.
Be thankful. What do you got going on, Stephen?
I am. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm in a play right now that will have completely closed a full month, maybe a month and a half ago by the time this episode drops. It's okay. You're fine. I'm sure we had a great turnout, and I'm sure everything went well. But I am also the host of the Disenfranchised podcast with my friend Tucker and sometimes my friend Brett. And we talk about movies that were supposed to have gotten Hollywood franchises that, for one reason or another, didn't. It's usually money.
Yeah.
And then I'm also
money or often bad.
Yeah. Could also be bad. And oftentimes it's both. And then I'm also a frequent contributor to the Pod and the Pendulum podcast, a movie that covers horror movie franchises. Horror movie franchises. One episode and one movie at a time. I think as of the time of this release, we're probably working our way through. It's the Summer of George, so we're working our way through the Romero Living Dead films.
Oh, hell yeah. Those movies rule.
They
don't, but they're fun as hell.
Yeah, they are. At least the first three are. The last three, jury's out. You can also check out the novel that I co-wrote with my partner Mandy Gossage called Check In, Check Out, available on Amazon in either paperback or ebook. Please read it. I had a lot of fun writing it, and it's goofy as shit.
I saw it when I was unpacking, and I don't know where it got to.
Put that one on the desk with the Wells books.
Yeah, I'm going to have to. Yeah.
But that's... Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was going to say, but there's so much fan fiction.
I know.
But
just think of this as fan fiction about characters you don't know yet.
Well, no, you have to introduce them to me as your OCs, and then I will be interested, because that's how my Tumblr brain works.
Okay. I don't know what any of that means, but I'm sure I will figure it out. Doing a visual gag where I shake my head emphatically after I say that.
Cherish your ignorance, my friend.
Cherishing. Every minute of every day I cherish.
Yeah, it's that place you dare not go. You will look there and see me staring back at you.
And that is episode 6 of Wells University. Orson Go Bragh is what we're calling it, because I think that is fucking hilarious.
Terrible.
Sometimes puns are funny.
All the time.
Next week, we're going to be talking about at least the years 1932 to 1933, during which time Wells returns to Todd, and along with his mentor, Roger Hill, begins a new and exciting project that will consume at least a significant portion of the men's time during the course of that year. So that is what we're covering next week, or at least that's the plan. We'll see where life takes us.
I'll see what actually happens.
Yeah. But until then, I am one of your hosts, Stephen Foxworthy.
I'm Hope Stow.
And until next time, class dismissed.
Yeah, we don't have a sign-off phrase for this show.
We don't. I feel like, class dismissed fits the theme, but it's not very Orson.
It does. Do we want to say class dismissed as Orson Welles together?
Ooh, that could be fun.
I'm going to push the mic away from my face a little bit. All right, so it's the line is class dismissed.
Right.
And do you want to do your serious Orson and I'll do comedy Orson, or do you both want to do comedy or both serious? Or
I can go either way.
Okay.
I'm trying to think of how I would do. I think I'm going to channel. Weirdly, I'm going to channel Unicron for this.
Oh boy. Great. I'm excited for it. All right. On 3?
On 3.
All right. 3, 2, 1. Class dismissed. I don't know what the fuck I just did there, but it wasn't Orson Welles. Good night, everybody.